Chair. I'll try to make it fast. All right, cool. I'm doing very well, man.
Hi, Mo.
Yeah, man. What's got going?
Nice to meet you,
got
man.
vodka, man.
You want one?
No, I'm chill, bro. I got water. I got water. Okay.
Water.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
What is your name?
Mind if I crack one open?
I mean, sure, man. You
Sure.
already opened it.
Oh, yeah, no, I did
Just
actually.
hit the video now. Like, you can go ahead. Hey, bro, you got some strawberry, you got raspberry, some peach. And if I would have one, I'm getting lemon. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah. Oh, good. Okay, man. What is your name?
Mo.
Mo?
Yes.
I'm Ollie. Nice to meet you, Mo.
Muhammad. Nice to meet you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so pretty much this is the 4 Young American Men podcast. Okay. So I talk about culture, politics, and other controversial topics. Is that cool?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Meaning, no, man. Okay, cool. So, Ali, today.
But yeah, okay.
Sure. Okay, so what I'm talking about today is voting. Do you think everybody should be allowed to vote? Because right now go ahead.
I mean, yes, of course. I mean, like I'm not sure if this is like a comedic bit or like if this is serious.
Oh no, I'm being so dead ass.
Oh,
Do you think?
Okay, no, yeah, of course, yeah. Like if you're of age, yeah, of course.
Why do you think so? At least, and I'll tell you how I feel about it.
Because if you're part of society, you should have a say in like how it's run.
Okay, so at least for me, when I look at voting, because like pretty much everybody from 18 and older is able to vote now. Pretty much, since I want to say 1971. Like this is like during Vietnam War. That's the primary reason why it actually went down to 18 because young men were having to go die in war, but they couldn't decide who's going to vote. So I'm like, if I'm going to get rid of bullets, I want to know who's going to allow me to do that.
100%.
Yeah. So at least I saw that. I'm like, okay, cool. But I think now in terms of society, we've got to a point where I actually think allowing everybody to vote is actually a bad thing. Okay. And one primary reason I would say for that is because most people don't really give a fuck about politics, don't give a fuck about the government. Like once you leave high school, most people do not care. And I think if you have the power to vote and you don't even really care about what's going on until maybe it's too late, you wait every single 4 years, now you care about what's going on. I think that causes a lot of problems because it makes our government be run poorly because then politicians don't really have to care. If they know, all right, 90% of people who are going to vote are not going to give a fuck. I could just say whatever random shit. I'm like, hey, we're going to all fly to Mars tomorrow. Everyone's like, hey, man, that sounds cool. I'm going to vote for that guy. How do you feel about that, at least first?
How do you define people who know what they're talking about and don't know what they're talking about?
Very good question. So at least for me, if you're not somebody who's usually if you're working in politics, you're going to be paying attention, right? Okay. But most people who have like nothing to do with politics at all, they're not paying attention to politics on a daily basis. Like maybe you're watching the news, but you're not seeing how your politicians act. You're not seeing what they do. You're only really going to be paying attention to policies and shit like that. Once again, like every single 4 years. So at least I would say most people who, if you're not connected to the political world at all, you're not working in politics. Most people like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll also tell you how I think the voting should work or how it's structured.
I think the problem is like how do you define people who know what they're talking about and don't know what they're talking about? And then for people who don't know what they're talking about, is it more a problem of like the lack of like education or like campaigning?
Yeah.
So
at least what I would say, I don't want to hold you too long because I know this could become like a long conversation. I don't want to hold y'all too long. So at least what I would say succinctly. So for most people, at least, I'd want there to be some kind of stake because that's the only way you're going to be motivated to want to pay attention. So because I think if you as you said, it's hard to know who is and is not paying attention. And I think that's an issue that we don't even know who's paying attention, but anybody can vote. So most people could just not know what's going on and then be able to vote. So for me, I'm like, hey, we need to have some sort of stakes for people that are going to vote. It shouldn't just be
like election betting, right?
Well, wouldn't I mean, not necessarily.
I mean, like that's high stakes.
Yeah, no, it is, but it's like
what's the stake then?
Nah, I mean, I think that's deplorable. Okay, a stake, for example, I like selective service kind of stake. For example, if you're a man and you're 18 through 25, you could get selected into the draft and go have to fight in a war. I think your life being on the line makes it like not, and this is what happened in 1971. I'm like, okay, for example, you guys can vote because you need to be able to, you're going to have to go fight and die in a war. If you're going to do that for your country, you should be able to choose a commander-in-chief. That's one example. Another kind of example for this could be like property tax. So if you actually have to pay taxes in the country, you're contributing to the government, then you should also have a say who's running because you're already a productive member. But pretty much for me, everybody else, like I can't fuck with it, at least in terms of stakes.
So hypothetically,
yes.
If I'm an old person on welfare, I can't vote.
Yeah, no. Okay, that's actually very interesting. That's actually very interesting as well. Well, no, I wouldn't actually want you to vote anymore because once again,
if you're taking away my welfare, like how do I vote then?
Oh no, that's really interesting. So at least what I would say is, if you're, because usually if you're an elderly individual, sure. if you are under somebody's care or guardian, so like what we do, the system would be like you'd be under somebody's care, and so they vote for you. So kind of almost like before what we had is like, okay, if you were like a white man back then and you owned a house in your property, basically you're almost voting on behalf of your family because you're looking at your family situation. Now you are the one who has to vote, and this actually forces you to be informed because you have stakes now. Does that make sense?
It does, but then like again, it goes back to like it doesn't matter what I did in the past. Like hypothetically, like why can't I vote if I'm an old person on welfare?
Well, once again, for me, if you are not actively contributing to the society you're in, I don't think the stakes are there for you to just be able to have the ability to vote. Because
my life depends on that, though, right?
No, well, yeah, but the thing is, we've had it before where other people weren't able to vote. For example, when women weren't able to vote, and people who, like, if you didn't own land, you weren't able to vote, for example. So their life is at stake. They still live in the country, but somebody's taking care of you. So for them, since they're taking care of you, obviously from a voting perspective, they're not going to be in that position where they have to. They're going to be in a position to take care of you. Yeah, but this doesn't have to be the only way to do it. This is just me thinking of it.
I mean, like it's never binary, right?
Sure.
Right. So
okay. Yeah, cool. I want to be in it. All right, cool. Yeah. Okay. There you go. I had to check her. There you go. We'll talk. What is your name?
Miriam.
Miriam, nice to meet you. I'm
nice
Ali.
To meet you.
So pretty much, as I said, this is For Young American Men podcast. So we talk about culture, politics, and other controversial topics. That cool, right?
Okay, very cool.
Okay, cool. So today we're talking about voting. So do you think everybody should be able to vote?
Yes. Yeah, everyone should be able to vote for sure.
Why do you think so?
Because every vote matters and everyone's voice should be heard. We live in a democracy, so every vote counts. Yeah.
Okay, at least for me, when it comes to voting, pretty much since 1971, everybody's been able to vote from like 18 and older. Like it was from 18, and then we got all the other ratifications like 19th Amendment, like women being able to vote and stuff like that prior. So from there, or I would only say, so we haven't actually everyone being able to vote. It hasn't been like since the inception of the United States. It's actually a very new thing, which is interesting. So at least the way I kind of look at it, I'm like, well, we actually should put limits on voting, and I'll tell a little bit why, and then you can have whatever your response is to that. But at least for me, I'm like, well, I don't think enough people have stakes when it comes to voting. I think a lot of people only give a fuck about politics or voting like when every single 4 years they're like, all right, oh shit, this is election year, let's all vote. Right. We gotta make some shit happen. But then after that, I'm like, wait, who the president again? Like nobody really cares.
Yeah.
So at least what I would say is we need to add stakes to voting so people are more competent or have higher information when it comes to voting. Do you agree with that much or disagree?
Do you mean like there should be some sort of like, okay, you need to be aware of certain things when it comes to like a political intelligence test when it comes to like voting? Or do you think that like, okay, if you haven't voted in the last like election, you shouldn't be able to vote in the coming? Like what's your...
Okay, got you. Okay, so at least for me, when I say like stake, I want you to like be almost like forced to first be politically aware or have to want to be, meaning you have to be contributing to society in some kind of significant way for you to be able to vote. Because it's like, if you're just doing nothing for society, you're on welfare, you're not really doing shit, and then you're like, well, I want to vote for who's the president. And I'm like, that's kind of an issue where it's conflicting because it's like you're going to be a net drag on what policies get put into play and what kind of things are done there. Because if it's like, I just get to have a say, but I don't have to do anything, that's where you get a dangerous situation where politicians are not held accountable to much or not really held to a standard because it's like, well, if people are just going to vote for me anyway and they're not going to give a fuck, that's kind of going to be a problem. Does that make sense?
How would you set a limit on that? Like what would the stakes be, or like what's the measurement of that? Like how would you be able to figure out like this person doesn't have high enough stakes in this election, so like how would you limit that? Okay, so at least the way it was before, like I was saying, like it was from 1971 where it was like, okay, onward, everybody votes. So like if going all the way back to the past, before it was only actually just white men who owned property, for example. So if you own property, you have a stake because you're contributing to society, you own land, then you get to influence how you're going to be governed or whatever. And then everybody else didn't have the ability to vote there. So when it was limited in that way, you were forced to be more intelligent about the way that you were voting. But you could even have a situation now where you could be married to your wife and then you guys could vote completely differently. I'm like, that's a huge problem because you guys can have conflicting views, and it's like you're getting pulled two directions. Even maybe you might not agree with this, but if you want your husband to be the leader of your household, like
how is that going to work if you can literally vote against your husband in an election? Like, that's another example. I'm like, okay, that's creating a huge drags and problems. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if I agree with that, because I feel like it's not just like, okay, I have property, so now there's more at stake for me in the government. I feel like everyone, almost every single person in their day-to-day has a lot at stake based on who's in office. Like you were saying, like people on welfare, they don't like, okay, now they could just vote in an election, but people on welfare, they're participating in our democracy because they're actively participating in social welfare programs, and those benefit them. So they will obviously want those to stay in policy. Like they agree with that policy.
No, but exactly. So if you're on welfare, you're being taken care of, but you can influence policy, that's a problem. Once again, like I said, because you don't have a stake. If you're being a net benefit to your society, or you own property, for example, now it's better for you to be able to actually influence what goes on in the government because you are contributing to it. Does that make sense? Because if you're basically, okay, anybody anywhere, as I said, most people when they're voting, they're not paying attention to politics. It's like every 4 years now I care. Why is it like that? Because you don't have stakes any other time. You're worried about your own life. You're only worried about your own personal situation. You don't have to care about everybody else. Because do you really care about everybody else if you're waiting till 4 years so you want to decide to vote and influence an election? No, I don't think so. And at least I'd want to give you like kind of like examples of what I'd have this look like. For example, so for men, we have selective service, right? Mm-hmm. So have you heard of that before or not? Okay, yeah. So like we have to go to war. Like we could get drafted at 18, you could get drafted. For example, that is an example of like a really high stake to be able to vote, because like if I can go, get rid of a bullet somewhere, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to be able to influence who our commander in chief is going to be. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. But like if, for example, you don't have to go to war, to be honest, like for young ladies, if you don't have to go to war, you're not in selective service, but you can influence elections, that's a problem. Because it's almost like you can send me to war. I'm like, wait, hold on. Right. Because with your voting. Okay, does that make sense?
In that specific example, sure. But do you think those are the only issues we have in a democracy, where it's only about, well, I'm going to vote for the commander of chiefs, so that's going to impact young men who are going to war? Do you think that's the single issue we have as Americans?
Of course not. We have more issues than that. So almost like we could have people who earn it. For example, you can earn the ability to vote. Right now, nobody earns it. 18 U.S. citizen voting.
Right.
If you need to have a way to earn it, we can and then we could do certain things. Like, for example, if you're a woman and you want to earn your ability to vote, well, you could decide to volunteer in the military. You could be in the military for 2 years. You could do mandatory service, and then boom, you earn that ability because you have served your country in that way. Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying, but you're sort of leaning towards like a militant state if you're saying that everyone that has to vote has to some sort of contribute to the military in some sort of way. I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be only this. This is just me more like examples. What I'm thinking about right now. Yeah. It could be other ways, as long as you are being a net positive to society. Then boom, you earn it. If we don't have people earning the ability to vote, that's what makes our politicians horrible, because they know, hey, I'm just going to put out some random advertisements. We know most people are going to be emotional, not really give a fuck, and not really be paying attention to stuff, not be diligent about who they're voting for. And that makes them not have to be good, not really have to care about Americans. Does that make sense?
I agree that some people maybe are not as...
Sorry if I'm holding it too long. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. This is an interesting conversation.
Sure.
But I think, sure, there's an issue with people not being politically, like, maybe diligent in doing their research about the politicians they're voting for. I think that's definitely an issue. Mm-hmm. But I think what you're saying, I see your point. You want people who are politically involved and very, like, motivated. Would
you agree? Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. Would you at least to see if, like, okay, we on base here, would you agree that you should want people to earn the ability to vote? So, like, right now, 18-year-old U.S. citizen, you can be able to vote. Mm-hmm. Do you think it'd be smart to have a way that people can earn their ability to vote rather than just having the ability the minute you're 18 and a U.S. citizen?
I think the concept of what you're saying, sure, it would be nice if that could be implemented in a fair way. Do I think it would be fair to have that implemented? I can't think of an idea where that would be fair, to be honest with you.
You think that's not fair? Making people earn the ability to vote,
I think like having the right to vote, it's a civic duty, but also it's kind of a right that all Americans should have. Once you're 18, I think you should have the right to be able to vote without going through some obstacles, because I think the way those obstacles, or maybe the way you think that, okay, there should be some sort of like fairness test or some sort of, you have to do XYZ to be able to vote.
We don't even have literary tests on voting at all. You can just go vote if you want to. Right. We don't even have voter ID as well.
Right.
Yeah. Do you?
What do you mean by voter ID?
Meaning, like, you don't have to have an ID to be able to vote. Like, if, for example, if you're here illegally, you can vote in elections. You
That's
don't.
not true. I don't think.
No, you actually can.
Every time I've gone to go vote, at least in the state of New Jersey, I've always had to present some form of ID to prove that I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, and so the thing is, some states, sure, other states, you don't actually have to be legally here.
I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'll have to look into that
Sure.
No research. But I know for the state of New Jersey, you do have to prove some sort of form of ID, like government issued ID, to prove that you are a U.S. citizen to vote, at least in primary elections for sure.
Okay.
I do think what you're saying about having some sort of like literacy test, whatever examples you were giving, I think that's a nice concept and idea, but I think the way that would be implemented would probably not be implemented in a fair way. And I think there's a lot of things in this country where we have nice concepts, but the way they're implemented are to perpetuate some sort of oppression or some sort of like marginal divide between groups. And
so, okay, what I'd ask, and I will wrap up here because we could probably keep going because the conversation is good, but at least for me, what I have, my position is earn it in some degree. I think if people don't earn it, then okay, when it comes to voting, it's gonna pretty much be shit. Like, people are not gonna vote well because they don't have to.
Okay, but don't you think that so the voter turnout in America is already low as is, so don't you think that people showing up to vote shows some sort of stake and some sort of care for what the outcome is? Like, don't you think just
go ahead.
Like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like the voter turnout is already low as is. So if there are people that are showing up to vote, we don't have a lot of those as is. So if they're showing up to vote, there's clearly some sort of stake there for them.
We got like 100. It's like 100 million something. We got 340 million people.
Yeah, it's extremely low turnout considering the population we have that are eligible voters. So I think just the fact that we have a low voter turnout, that just shows there's already some sort of level of high stakes and
I wouldn't agree with that at all, because if you don't have a stake, once again, all you have to do is be 18 and a U.S. citizen. You can go vote, but that
doesn't mean you don't have a high stake in what the government.
Well, what is your stake then? Because you're
impacted by the government in every sort of way, like as
but you know what's even wilder then? But all those people have the vote. They choose not to vote, which is already just like, okay, they have the ability. They're not even using the ability. What is even the point there? Number one, and then number two, once again, if you're 18 and a U.S. citizen, you're able to vote. You like, just going to the poll and being motivated to go there doesn't really mean you have stakes. Once again, you could go there and vote for whatever reason. There's a lot of people in that 100 million where it's like, oh, well, it's an election year, let me just go vote. And they don't give a fuck about politics the next 4.
I just don't think that happens, though. I don't think people.
You don't think people go to vote for no reason? They just, like, it could be your mom telling you, hey, go vote, honey, and then you go. That happens a lot.
Maybe I have personal bias because that's not my experience or experience I've had with friends, family members, or anything. I feel like people.
It happens. Yeah, it happens a lot.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair thought to have. But I just think that, like, most people, there's not a high voter turnout, and I think that's exact proof of, like, a lot of people who don't care to vote just won't care to, like, won't go to vote. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're going to vote, that shows some sort of care about voting, some sort of care about that civic duty. Therefore, you probably have some say. And I think it's unfair to say that people who go to vote, okay, you're just voting because you're above 18 and you're a U.S.
No, I'm saying that's just
eligible.
that's just the only that's the only thing, like, you need to be able to.
Right.
So for me, that's where I'm like, whoa, we gotta chill if that's the only thing. Like, we need to have people who actually are either contributing to society in some way. Once again, I gave the examples before, but it could be more. It doesn't only have to be those two. Those are the examples I'm thinking on top of my head. Or it's like, hey, we need people to earn it to some degree. Anyway, I'll let you have the last word here. I don't want to hold you too much longer, of course, there. Sure.
I just think to implement things like that, it would just, I think it would lead to some sort of, like, systemic issues, to be honest with you. I just don't think things like that can be implemented in a fair way.
It'd be cool. But if it was fair, you'd be cool with it.
We would have to get really specific on exactly what's being implemented. I think the examples you've told me, I don't think I would agree with, to be honest with you. But if there was some sort of, like, more fair, reasonable implementations, maybe we could have a discussion about it. I don't want to give any absolute answers here. But overall, I just think people are impacted by government in their everyday lives. I think almost every single person is impacted by who's in power and the type of legislation they pass. So I think to say that, a lot of people go to vote just because they want to vote and, like, they don't care that much, I just don't think that's a fair statement, to be honest with you.
Okay, fair enough. So, then we can agree to disagree on there. Yeah, but otherwise, super awesome conversation. What's your name again?
Miriam.
Miriam, thank you so much. Yeah, that was fire.
Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. How you know me?
No, I know who you are. I watched your videos before.
Oh, yeah. What's my name?
I don't know, but I've seen your streams before.
All right, sure.
Good to meet you.
All right, good to meet you as well.
What's your name?
Sure. Ollie.
Ollie?
Yes.
I'm D. Good to
Nice
meet you.
to meet you, D. Yes. Okay. Okay, so pretty much D, what we got going on, this is the Four Young American Men podcast. You've been seeing this, I guess. So pretty much we're talking about culture, politics, and other controversial topics. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
All right, cool. All right, so today I'm asking, do you think everybody should be able to vote? Currently, if you're 18, you're a U.S. citizen, you have the ability to vote. Do you think we should continue like that?
Can you remind me what the legal age to buy a gun is?
The legal age to buy a gun, I'm pretty sure, is it 21, I believe, off the top of my head? It's 18, is it? True. It's okay, interesting position. Okay, so 18, yeah.
Can you remind me the legal age to drink?
To drink, 21.
Okay. So, in my opinion, I think that a lot of the times the people that have a lack of autonomy over decisions that are being made or like policed sometimes can be below the age of 18. I think there's a sense of like, if you want to take the state of like cognitive development, then sometimes it comes like after, I think like
25?
After 25, right?
Yeah.
That's when your prefrontal cortex stops developing, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm 24, so I think I'm cooking now.
Are you?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good right now.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I think that, after a certain point, your prefrontal cortex stopped developing. If you wanted to go with that standpoint, then like after the age of 25. But at the same time, I think there's people below the age of 18. There's the houseless population that exists that's below 18. There's, people that are struggling with bodily autonomy that are below the age of 18 that don't have voting rights. So I think, it's a convoluted topic. There's certain instances where there's people that are impacted by laws and regulations that are below the age of 18, but then there's a sense of cognitive development that maybe isn't there, right?
Okay.
And I think that we have some conflicting legislation. The age to drink is lower than maybe the age of cognitive development. The age to buy a gun, to be able to potentially end a life is...
I mean, you can end the life other ways, but true.
I said potentially.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Right. So I think, it's a nuanced topic. I think that people that are able to vote now, that are eligible to vote, I mean, like, did you want to get into, like, ex-felons or, like, things like that? The people that have, like, a criminal record? I'm just not sure what angle you're going for.
No. So because I was just asking in general, at least for me, when I kind of look at it, I'm like, well, we definitely need to have some limits to some degree. I would agree, at least from the standpoint where you're saying like, okay, we have different situations or conflicting ideas where, okay, well, some people can buy guns at 18, other people can drink at 21. So it's kind of weird what we got going on. Like where is it in terms of what power should people be able to have? At least for me, when I look at voting, I would definitely say we need to have some kind of stakes at least. Right now it's just, So right now it's just kind of right now it's just 18, U.S. citizen, boom, you're able to vote.
Right.
I don't think that's the greatest decision. You kind of mentioned already that, hey, well, you can have laws or things that affect you and, you're not able to vote about that. Right. Well, I honestly see that as one thing that I'm completely okay with. I don't think a 16-year-old or 15-year-old, you can have laws that are going to affect them. Like, obviously, they can't commit certain crimes. Obviously, you're not going to go to maybe federal jail. You might just go to juvenile jail.
Sure.
Yeah, juvenile. But at least we need to. So I'm completely okay with basically people being limited in terms of their ability to vote to some degree. So first, what I'd actually land so we can like have a place to talk from. I think there just needs to be some kinds of stakes. So 18.
Some kind of measurement?
Yeah, well, less measurement and more like, hey, requirement. There's something
so there's 18, and then what else requirement would you suggest beyond being 18?
Well, I mean, 18 U.S. citizen, and then I would say, okay, for example, we have selective service for men. So a big reason why men were able to vote back in 1971 because the Vietnam War was because, well, if you can get sent off to die, then you should be of age to now kind of vote. That's like such an extreme situation where it's like you've kind of earned your right to be able to vote and influence elections. I don't want to hold you too long, by the way. Sorry about that. Yeah. So that's already an example of something I'm like, okay, that's cool. Okay. So at least from a military angle, I'm like, okay, if we could do, you have to do either some kind of mandatory military
draft. There should be a mandatory right to vote or have an autonomy.
Yeah. So like it's either if you want to be able to vote, fine, you have to earn your ability. For example, for ladies, you guys don't have to do selective service. So at least at 18, I don't think you guys should be able to come out, boom, instantly able to vote. Right. I think you guys should have to, there's some kind of requirement that you guys should also fulfill if you want to earn that right. For example, if you guys willingly, or if you decide to volunteer for the military, you serve in the military 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, at least 4 years, and then boom, now you can have the ability. That's an example
So
of what
you're
I'm
saying
thinking
that there
about.
should be unequal voting rights considering the contribution that other people make to society. It should be
Yes.
indicative of like your contribution.
Yes.
And what do you think of people that are active in the workforce, that are contributing to our economy, that are making decisions or, you know, contributing fiscally?
Yeah.
Do
Okay.
they not have autonomy over working?
No, very good question. So at least from there, before at least when we had like, well, all the way back before all these different amendments were created to allow other people to be able to vote. First, it was just like white men who owned property were able to vote. So you pay property taxes, boom, you are able to have a stake now because you're contributing to society. That's actually another good example. I'm like, okay, for working people as well. My only issue where I start having with that is that then I'm like, okay, well, people might be in this position where, okay, they're able to work, but they might not really care about politics that much. They might not be really paying attention to it, or
Can I ask one question as a follow-up if you don't mind me interrupting?
Sure.
Do you think that caring about politics is a reason to vote? I think that there's a general consensus that, you know, since like the 70s, since post-Watergate, there's been a consistent decrease in the amount of people that are actually interested in politics because
only about 100 million people voted even like last election. Yeah,
right. And it's, you know, partially due to like the intensity of political polarization and kind of a distaste for politics. And I think a lot of the times the average voter is not someone that's going to be, you know, nuanced or have the privilege to even, you know, take time off to follow up with like news articles or, you know, have the time and capacity to be involved. But at the end of the day, they're still impacted by the system that's around them.
Yeah, no,
right?
I know.
It's being educated. Yeah. I think being educated on politics is a privilege, one.
Yeah, no, but if we're gonna have these people be able to influence policy though, well, that's then an issue because I'm like, well, if you're
who is the person that's indicative of being in charge of policy? It's people that are privileged enough that they're able to, you know, have an education, be able to afford a platform, raise campaign dollars, right? A lot of the time,
we can create one, and this is also something we could create systemly. It's not like, okay, this is one situation where, okay, it can happen, and we'll wrap up here. By the way, sorry about that. No pretty much for no worries. So at least what I would say is we could create systems around that. Okay, well, for example, as I said, we could do mandatory military service, and we can find a way to work around that where people can go for the military.
I just don't think there should be a restriction, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just don't think there should be a restriction on the types of people that should vote. I think that if we're going to say that we're a democratic society and that, you know, people are equal under the law, and, you know, the people that are impacted by the law are, you know, of different working classes, have different capacity to do military service, but they're still impacted by the law equally, unequally. I don't think there's equal impact under the law either, right?
Well, I
think that some people's votes should maybe certain people's votes should have more precedence over others.
Yes, I think
there should be more weight carried if you're more impacted by the law.
No, well, not even just if you're impacted by the law. I just think
I do have to.
No worries.
I apologize.
No, I appreciate it though.
Thank you for your time.
No, thank you too, Dean. Right?
D.
Literally D. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, cool. Yeah, you guys have a great one, by the way. Yeah, for sure. I'm rapping. There you go. All righty. All right. What's your name, man?
My name's Nick.
What's up, Nick?
What's up?
I'm Ali, bro.
I'm nice to meet you.
So pretty much what we got going on here is the 4 Young American Men podcast. So I'll talk about culture, politics, and other controversial topics. Is that cool?
Hell yeah.
All right, man. So today I'm asking, do you think everybody should be able to vote? Currently in the United States, if you're 18 and you're a U.S. citizen, you can vote. Do you think we should continue that way, or do you think it should change?
Yeah, why not? Give them an opportunity. If you want to go, take your ass down there.
Yeah, you want to take your ass to the ballot, bro. Not me, fair enough.
Yeah, you make that shit to kids. You know, just bring an ID. Why not?
Okay, work.
If you want to go, if you know what you voted for, why not?
Yeah, okay. So, at least for me personally, when I look at it, I think 18 and U.S. citizen, to me, just personally, it's not enough for voting. I think if we had more stakes to the game, I think we'd be better overall as a country. And I also think our politicians would be a lot better. I think it's very easy for our politicians to just basically campaign. They know most people are going to be low information when it comes to voting. They're not really going to give a fuck. Because most niggas, let's be real, like most niggas don't really give a fuck about politics. Only about 100 million people even voted last election. Like, and we got 340 million niggas in here, bro. Yeah. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, well, even among those 100 million, a lot of them still don't give a fuck. It's more like, okay, they're just politically motivated every single 4 years and now they want to vote. So what I'd ask you is, do you think there should be stakes when it comes to voting?
Stakes?
Yeah, like other than just 18 a U.S. citizen at least. And then we could first from there.
I think as long as they have like, they can verify who the fuck is making the vote, yeah.
So as long as as long as they got an ID.
If not, there is no bots and shit. You know, if you can make sure it's a real person, actual person with opinions and shit, why not?
Yeah. I mean, okay. Well, I mean, in a way, I mean, That's well, I don't know if I consider that a stake. It's more like, okay, you got ID, so nigga, you be there. Oh my nigga, nah, I'm gonna need a little bit more than that. I'm gonna need a little bit more. That's cool. Well, let me give you an example. So, for example, for guys, right? If you're between the ages of 18 and 25, you're in a selective service. Have you heard of that before? Yeah. So like, we got to go die for the country. If anything comes down, we can institute the draft, and then boom, nigga, you get shot at, bro. You in the trenches, nigga. You ain't even in the trenches no more. You getting nuked, bro. It's over with. Yeah, it's over with. So I'm like, damn, nigga, at least. Yeah, next niggas, line them up, bro. Start chasing niggas through the
shit ain't work.
Yeah, no. So at least for that, that's a prime example. I'm like, okay, for guys 18 through 25, stakes are high enough to where, okay, you should be able to vote because you have to pay the ultimate price, which is, okay, if we have to go to war, you got to be ready for that. For example, when I look at women, though, you can come out at 18 and be able to vote. I'm like, hold on, ho. You got to hold on for a second, my nigga. Like, chill out with that. Like, you can influence who is my commander-in-chief. I could go die in the war. You can vote on that shit. That's a huge issue to me. I think they don't have enough stakes for it. So, for example, they could have other ways to earn it. Like, it's either you have to go into the military, for example. We could stick with the military, but it doesn't have to just be this. I'm just using an example because it's simple. But we could do like military, for example. Like, okay, we have women that have to work in the military for a certain amount of years, and then to be able to because then
that's the stakes you're talking about.
no, that's
you have to earn.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, you can't. Ain't no. Everybody just get this shit. I think it causes, like I said, it causes a lot of problems. You disagree with that?
If you think niggas don't vote right now, niggas are not voting if they got to do some extra shit.
Oh my god!
No.
Fucking exactly. And that's my whole thing. I that's good. I think our voting should be limited. I think we're too bloated. We got too many niggas that are able to vote. I think if we actually had less people voting, it'd be efficient. Let me give you a great example of this. For example, when you're a CEO of a company, for example, and then you have an entry hire, would you want that entry hire to be able to influence what the fuck the company is gonna do?
I get what you're saying.
So only the top executives are able to so like the CFO, COO, CEO, they all come together and then decide and make decisions.